I don't think it shows anything that we didn't already suspect. And look, the key to this, and I find it ironic that over the course of the weekend you had sort of two blights on two of the world's biggest major economies, India with the BBC documentary of India's daughter, and the BBC trying to ban that from YouTube as well. And obviously Under the Dome being banned in China.
But
look,
initially, to actually get this documentary done, she actually got state support, the CCTV journalist.
Yeah, I mean...
Which was surprising, I mean, given how critical it was of pollution in China.
Oh, I think it's a classic example of the Chinese knowing that there is an issue here, but when you reveal too much, that's when it becomes a problem.
When you can incite... When you can incite the public, that's when it becomes a problem.
And look, this is a very emotionally charged documentary. I mean, there's a lot of, to call it an equivalent of an inconvenient truth is probably giving an inconvenient truth a little bit too much credit, because I think this is a much more emotional documentary in itself. But look, it's a classic example of them saying, well, we'll discuss it, but we won't discuss it too much. Right? And again, it goes back to a very basic point that how I look at China very much from a political framework, that these things are appropriate points of discussion up until the point where they potentially raise the spectre of social unrest.
But doesn't it make them look bad? So basically, you condone this documentary, you help the journalists make it, you put it on YouTube, make it watchable in China, then all of a sudden you take it away. And, I think the public in China understands what that means when you start taking things away from YouTube and what's watchable.
Well, but at the end of the day, this is us with, Westerners with a bunch of liberal values imposing that sort of thinking on the Chinese. And the Chinese thinking is, well, 25, 35, 45 million people saw it, but the rest of the population didn't. And that makes it still in the minority who have seen this.
I kind of wonder if this is going to backfire in a different way than what they expected. I mean, it seems like it's too simple to say, we want to censor Under the Dome because, it highlights failings in terms of environmental management. We're worried about, but people aren't going to come out and do mass riots over pollution, I wouldn't think. They know what the situation is. They live there and they breathe it. I think it's a censorship issue. I mean, look what they've done. There's so many things you can't access. Information is inaccessible in China. They've been cracking down on the VPN, so virtual private networks. I mean, you're constantly on the run now. And then something like this. Don't you think it gets worse? Don't you think that's the real issue here?
But this is hardly surprising, though. I mean, this is the model. This is the model. The Chinese model is one of where censorship plays a big part of this. I mean, the Chinese model revolves around fast economic growth and full employment, and that creates a social contract with people. And if that's not enough, you have to use censorship and restrictions of freedoms to make sure social order is maintained. And I don't think there's any coincidence that we're having an environment of slowing economic growth, and controversial topics like environmental degradation are being swept under the rug at the same time.
But thank goodness for this documentary this year, because it made the NPC actually interesting, which is usually a rubber stamp process. But this year we have China's inconvenient truth to talk about.
And it's real. And look,
it's been the buzz at the NPC this year, really.
And Bernie, look, you hit the nail on the head. This is not going to be the thing that causes social unrest, right? This is not like a bankruptcy of a bank or something like that, or a loss of shadow banking profits where people lose their life savings, right? People don't throw rocks over dirty air. But it shows how the administration is still incredibly sensitive to anything that can challenge social order in a time when the economy is continuing to struggle.
I think people will start throwing rocks at dirty air, especially if their kids are getting sick, if people's lives and welfare are getting disrupted.
It would take something significant, though. I think...
Give us some time. You go to Beijing and start breathing that air and tell us how happy you feel.
Probably not very. Right?
There you go.
Yeah.
It would take a disaster. It would take a public health disaster to motivate. And we are talking about pollution here, not things overthrowing the Communist Party.
Yeah, exactly. And we're talking, and look, it's bad, and it's part of a myriad of problems that exist in China. But again, the social contract of one which means that freedoms are restricted, means that environmental issues are not going to be dealt with at the pace that probably the average person wants them to be dealt with.